Our tastes in film may seem destructive, but this is a productive dialogue. Damn it, your mother ate my dog.
Hey, Jesse, I didn't see you there.
Oh, hey, look who it is.
Happy New Year and welcome back to this podcast that we started a year ago. Your Mother Ate My Dog. The podcast. Episode 41.
My goodness.
Yep, that's us. Oh man, I forgot how we do these things. It's been so long.
Feels like it's been an entire lifetime.
But really, it's only been a week, technically.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, we don't want to peek behind the curtain too much. This week, we watched a movie called Rashomon. Is that how you pronounce it? They never said it in the movie because it's in Japanese. So
Yeah.
you kind of just had to guess, which I thought was a pretty good first movie to start out the year. It's like a mature movie to choose. It's like we're adults now. The first year was full of Dude, Where's My Car? And movies like that. But this year we're starting off on an adult movie.
I was thinking that. I was like, wow, this is a mature film.
Well, that's us. That's us on the podcast.
Very
a mature
mature
film.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before we get into the movie, I don't want to change anything about our format just because it's the new year. I think what we've been doing has worked.
Absolutely.
Is there anything that you'd like to change or see in the new year podcast?
Well, I thought maybe this year we would start with our scores. And then after that, we'll go into the opening theme song. And then maybe we'll give less time for the movie, like maybe about a minute to 2 minutes. So like sort of like an abridged version. And then the rest of the podcast would be just about the follower of the week. So that's what I had brainstormed up until this point. Now I've wanted to run it by you now, give your sort of your non-rehearsed response, you know.
That's really interesting. The reverse podcast almost.
Yeah. Not so much of a movie podcast, more of a follower of the week podcast.
Yeah. I don't like it, but
Okay.
Thank you for your opinion. So it has been a little while since we've recorded.
Mm-hmm.
I have a new mic now, which is
You sound
exciting.
better. Yes.
And I did watch a few movies over the holidays to end my 2022. I'm going to ask you to guess. The last movie I watched in 2022 was one of your favorite movies of all time that I had never seen before.
Okay.
Do you have any guess on what that might have been?
And
It's not Lord of the Rings.
okay, yeah, I figured it wouldn't be. Now, is this a movie I've definitely said is one of my favorites, or I've said is very good?
You said this is one of your favorite movies of all time.
Silence of the Lambs?
No, I've seen that movie before. I think we watched it together.
That's very possible. Well, then it's got to be Nacho Libre.
It was Nacho Libre. Yeah, that was the last movie I watched. I gave it a 6.9 out of 10. I thought that Jack Black's performance was one of the best single performances I'd ever seen in a movie. He carried that thing on his back.
Sure did.
He made it work.
Now, I want you to be, the main problem I have with that movie is there's like a couple fart jokes.
Yeah, a lot of fart. Well, it's just like him like jumping, or it's mostly just him jumping off his stuff and farting.
Yeah. Now, would you say if those were not in there, it would be a better film?
Yeah, I think they dumbed down the movie in some parts like that, which it didn't need.
Yeah, there was a lot of like really genuine moments in that film that are like, I don't know, executed so well. Like there's a very nice tone to the movie, but then I think those fart jokes ruin the tone.
Yeah, that's what played into my 6.9 out of 10. Did you know that Ramses, the bad guy, died?
Oh, like
He died.
recently?
Yeah, well, I don't know. A few years ago, he had a heart attack in the ring. He's doing what he loves.
You're very good at like telling us about who died. Seems to be like a thing you enjoy doing.
Well, what I normally do after watching a movie is go on the Wikipedia page and like look at actors I've never seen before and how the production was. And so I went to him, Ramses, Nacho Libre, his real name being like Silver King. He only wore a mask. Nobody knew what he looked like. His real name was Cesar Baron, a Mexican luchador enmascarado, which I think just means he had a mask.
Right.
He died in 2019 in London. Wrestling a guy, and he had a heart attack.
Well then, I got to say, Nacho Libre is one of the most quotable movies ever. It's just so many that stick out. Like get that corn out of my face.
Yeah, a lot of corn in that movie.
Yeah, there's corn. The nacho. I hate all the orphans.
Oh yeah.
Diarrhea since Easter's. It just never ends.
Yeah, but it did though. It ended at the.
It did end at the end. Yeah.
At the movie.
It's a nice ending.
Yeah, a good happy ending for sure.
Yep.
For sure.
We haven't
had really. Yep.
Oh no, you go right ahead.
Well, no, I was going to jump into a different topic, but
so was I. I was just hitting you with the segue. I was going to be like, well, what was also a really fun, cheery movie? Rashomon.
Yeah, but we're not there yet because
we're not at the movie yet. Of course not.
Got to do the follower of the week, and I was going to say that we haven't really had any followers recently.
No.
So it's not going to be a new one. It's not going to be pet related per last episode.
So you're diving deep into the follower vaults. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, digging deep. Trying not to find like another podcast.
Right. Just we don't want to promote anyone else. It's all about us here.
And we're getting to the point where it's like I don't really remember if I've chosen this.
Oh, I'll be able to tell you. I remember every single one. I write them on my chalkboard in my study.
Okay, well that's interesting. Our follower of the week this week, he goes by the name of Jacob. He's a he/him, but his Instagram handle is Noodles, Props, and Monsters.
Okay.
Noodles, Props, and Monsters. He has almost as many followers as he does accounts he follows, and he's just an SFX artist based in Pennsylvania, which is in America. I'm Jacob! ! Follow to join me in my special effects. That's special effects journey. Message for custom orders, and it's just pictures of Michael Myers' face.
What do you order from him?
I guess you can
noodles.
You can get your own face,
like ramen. Like when you get your face ramenized, or spaghetti, or what kind of noodles?
I don't know what the noodles is about.
Okay.
I guess we can message him and find out.
We could, or we couldn't.
Yeah, so Noodles, Props, and Monsters. Jacob, that's our follower of the week.
Thank you, Jacob.
So much for being our follower of the week. The last thing I want to do before we get into the movie, unless you had something you wanted to...
No,
okay. Is talk about the movie a little bit.
Before we get to the movie, you want to talk about the movie?
Yeah, so Rashomon. Okay. It's a Japanese film.
It is.
Not a lot of English happening. In fact, zero English happening. So I just wanted to do a little bit of trivia.
Okay.
And just see how well we know Japan.
Okay.
So we're talking about Japan a little bit. How well do we know Japan? So I found a quiz which does not give me the answers yet. So I can do it too.
Okay.
It's 22 questions. We won't do all 22.
Okay.
I'll
You
pick
want to
and
like
choose.
coffee? You want to like coffee news it? Like do 5?
Yeah, we can do 5
Okay.
and see. Yeah, just see how we do. How well we know Japan. We know Canada. We know Japan.
I feel like my Japan knowledge would be good, but let's see.
All right. Well, as you know, question 1: Japan is made up of islands.
Mm,
How many islands do you think Japan has in total? This is multiple choice.
okay.
Do you think Japan has 6,852 islands? Do you think they have 6 islands? Do you think they have 380 islands? Or 5,431?
Okay. Now, when I think of countries with a lot of islands, I think of like Indonesia and like the Philippines. I've never once thought of Japan. Didn't think that. Like when you told me, when you're like, okay, how many islands does Japan have? In my mind, I was like, 4. And then your first number was, like 3,000 or whatever you said. It's like, oh boy.
6,852.
Yeah. But then you said B, 6.
Yeah.
And I was like,
you're aiming towards 6.
I am. But now that it seems outlandish. Perhaps there are many tiny islands. What do they call what qualifies as an island? That's what I want to know.
I don't know.
You know what?
I don't know if it's necessarily inhabitable. They just have like just a landmass.
Okay, well, I'm going to say 6.
Okay, well, I'm going to go the 6,852.
Okay.
It doesn't tell us the answer right away, so we'll have to go back to that.
All right.
Question 2. Japan's total population is approximately 127 million, but which European country is similar in size according to landmass? So this isn't really a question about Japan.
Right. We've switched over to Europe.
Yeah. So Japan, you see the size and shape. What other country is like that? Would it be France? No. Would it be Germany? No. Would it be Spain? No. Would it be the United Kingdom?
Yeah, that was a little bit of an easy one.
Oh, it does tell us what the answer is.
Oh, okay.
So the first answer, because I just clicked on it and it just gave me green.
Yeah.
So the answer is 6,852.
Of course.
So
I was close.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
France, Germany, Spain, or United Kingdom is similar in size according to landmass. I said the United Kingdom, which was wrong, by the way. So
Similar
France,
in
Germany,
landmass.
or Spain,
You said like shape or something.
similar in size according to landmass.
What are the options again? France, Germany, Spain, and
Germany, Spain. I picked the United Kingdom. It was wrong. So
France,
1 and
Germany,
3.
Spain. Oh, I guess it's got to probably be Spain then, I guess.
It was Germany.
Okay, well, that seems strange. It's probably like the Mercator projection, like screwing with what we think the size of Japan is compared to those countries.
I don't know what that means. Question 3. Before Tokyo, Japan had several other capital cities. Which is the most recent previous capital? Is it Hiroshima with the bombs? Is it Osaka? Is it Kyoto? Or Fukuoka?
Well, my mind went to Osaka before you listed out the ones, so that's what I'm going with.
I went with Fukuoka because I hadn't heard of it before, but it was Kyoto.
We are really good at this.
Kyoto. Well, I got one right. Question 4. I should probably stay away. Okay. Which quintessentially Japanese dish actually originates from Portugal? Is it sushi? Okonomiyaki?
Mm-hmm.
Is it ramen, which you said that earlier?
I did say that.
Tempura?
Okay, I'm going to go with tempura.
I'm gonna go with ramen just because the word looks. It was tempura, so you're correct.
Okay.
You got one. Okay, and then the last question about Japan. Okay, none of those. Okay, this one's you'll know this one for sure. When did the beloved Studio Ghibli Museum in Mitaka open? Was it 1998, 2001, 2003, or 2007?
That's an obvious one.
Beloved Studio Ghibli Museum. What year did it open? Let's just go back to what year. Howl's Moving Castle came out in 2004.
Right. I think the museum came out a year prior, 2003.
The correct answer was 2001.
Mm.
So close.
You didn't even guess.
No, I didn't guess. I was kind of done.
Right. It did feel that way, that we were both kind of, dreading the last question.
Yeah, big mistake.
Huge
Big mistake there. Okay, well, now the movie.
Yes.
Before we get into the movie.
Oh, good.
I heard a song recently. I was driving back from my job in the car, and the radio was on, and they were playing a song by a band. And the first part of the lyrics were very. It described the feeling I had for this movie.
Okay.
It was a thought that crossed my mind as I was watching it, and I verbally said it out loud. And now I'm going to verbally say the lyrics out loud for you right now, and then you can tell me if you also felt this way.
Mm-hmm.
The song is "Here to Forever" by Death Cab for Cutie, and it goes like this: In every movie I watch from the 50s, Rashomon came out in 1950. There's only one thought that swirls around my head now, and that's everyone there on the screen. Yeah, everyone there on the screen. Well, they're all dead now. They're all dead now. And that is something I thought about. Like, oh yeah. I mean, none of these people are alive.
What about the baby at the end?
Well, okay.
Might still be alive,
I had that thought, I think, before the baby was introduced. But yeah, good. I mean,
gotcha.
That movie would have come out 70 plus years ago. So yeah, I mean, decent odds.
Yep. Gotcha.
Yeah, perfectly fine song. But yeah, that sums it up for me. Anyways.
I will say I don't usually think that. But that's okay.
Well,
you're a death guy. When it comes to death, you're on top of it.
Every day, I probably go on Wikipedia and they have a who died on this day thing. So I look to see who died today and yesterday.
It's very dark.
Like people read the news, and I like to look at people's lives, see who died and stuff. Yeah. Anyways, Rashomon, 1950. It's a Japanese film with subtitles. It is one of those. So, okay. This movie is very important to cinema as a whole. There is an effect called the Rashomon effect, which is a storytelling and writing method in cinema in which an event is given contradictory interpretations or descriptions by the individuals involved, thereby providing different perspectives and points of view of the same incident.
Right.
The term is used to describe the phenomenon of the unreliability of eyewitnesses. Which that was a movie. How did you like the movie?
Oh, I liked it.
That was the movie.
Oh, right. I liked it. So kind of like Reservoir Dogs, right? You seen that movie?
I have seen it. Yeah.
I think it does that, doesn't it?
Do you think it stole from Reservoir Dogs?
Yeah, I think this movie traveled in the future about 40 years or so and stole from Reservoir Dogs.
There was a movie that came out in 2021 that I haven't seen, but it stars Matt Damon. It's called The Last Duel,
Mhm.
which apparently copies that quite a bit.
Huh.
And let me just see what that Rotten Tomato score was. This Rotten Tomato score was pretty insane.
Yes.
Last Duel did get 85%. Might be a movie to watch.
Yeah.
But this movie was like 97 or something.
It's a lot. A lot of percentage.
98%.
Yeah.
Yeah, you liked the movie?
I thought it was good. I thought it had a lot of action for a movie from the 50s. I find most films around that era to be usually a little dull. I don't think they just had really I don't know. I don't know if action had really been perfected at this point. Action film. I mean, it wasn't really. This was really, I guess, an action film. There was a lot of action, more of a drama.
Yeah. The sword fighting scenes were hilarious.
Yes. Well, I liked the different versions of all the fighting scenes, especially the last version.
Mhm.
I'm not sure what the character's name is. He's the guy who's cutting the wood. The guy who's so upset.
They call him the woodcutter.
The woodcutter.
Actually.
Him.
Yeah.
I liked his rendition of the sword fight where they both absolutely suck at sword fighting.
A lot of rolling. I mean, that's probably the best that they could do. Like they probably were trying really hard, but like it's 1950. They don't have the technology to make it look more real than like,
Yeah.
oh, it's not. They're probably real swords. Let's not chop our arms off just for this
Yeah.
film.
Well, I liked in the previous iterations of their sword fights, like they were good, clanking swords and
Mhm.
and then in the iteration where neither of the two people, well, I guess the three people directly involved in what was going on was telling the story. What was really happening was that they both really sucked and were like cowardly, and so I thought that part was interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
There was a lot of interesting. I liked the movement going on. That's why I guess I spoke to the action going on in this movie. There's a lot of like movement, especially I noticed like in hands, a lot of interesting hand movement. I don't know, like it almost like it became its own character. There was a lot of, especially with the woman in the film, the wife.
Yeah. Well, the only woman in the film.
Well, there was the medium too.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, she really was just
She was
the
sort
guy.
of like, yeah, I guess that's true. But yeah, like she showed a lot of emotion through her hands, but like very effectively. I noticed it. Like there was parts where she was like gripping onto one of the men's backs, and her hand was sort of like, I don't know, just the way it moved.
Yeah,
So
very
just a
visual movie.
Yeah, it's just a sort of a weird little thing I noticed. But yeah, there are a lot of interesting movements in general, which I found like, yeah, again, movies I find from around this era don't do a great job of that typically. Like a movie I watched recently called, I think I talked about it last episode. It's called The Hitchhiker.
Mm.
And I think that came out like almost the same time. 1953?
Yeah, 53.
And there was action in that movie, but not nearly as captivating. And the story was not nearly as interesting as this either. But I mean, it's hard to just compare two random films like that. But I did like this method of storytelling. It was interesting.
Yeah, for sure. It's just all about them, like people lying.
Yeah.
Humans are humans; they lie.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, it was a very human movie. Like, it showed a lot of like the dark side of humans, I guess. It was like a pretty bleak film overall. I almost wish it stayed that way. You know how like at the end, he takes the baby they find, and it's like, oh, maybe there is some good in this world or whatever. I kind of wish that part wasn't in there.
Just wish like he just threw the baby aside.
Or maybe just the baby wasn't there at all. I just felt like once he told his story at the very end, there was like a shot where they're like all standing in the rain, I think, or something. I can't remember, but I just remember being like, okay, this is the perfect ending. It should stop right now. But then it didn't.
Yeah. Um, we'll talk about the ending later, but the ending probably the weakest part of the film, I'd say.
Yeah, it was definitely, well, yeah, we can talk about it later.
This movie has been credited as the reason that the Academy created the best foreign film category.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty good, pretty important movie.
Yeah. I can see
I wish
that.
it was in English.
You'd only read the subtitles, do you?
Well, yeah, it was exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
But I picked the movie, so what do you want?
That's what you get. Yeah, I like, it definitely felt a little ahead of its time, I found. And I liked the certain, like, I liked the medium. That whole part was kind of interesting. And there's a lot of, like, strangeness in the movie, too. Especially, yeah, the medium and Kajumaru. You know, like the crazy bandit guy.
Sure, yeah.
He truly was a kind of a crazy guy.
A lot of laughing.
Yeah.
A lot of crazy, just laughing.
Especially, I thought the his performance, like when we were doing the flashbacks as to what happened, weren't as strong as when he was being interrogated, I guess.
Right.
I thought he did a very good job in those scenes. And I liked how that whole scene worked too. Like he never heard the police or the jury or whoever is interviewing them, you know. You just hear them talking to no one. We just have to assume that the police are speaking. I always thought it was sort of an interesting choice.
And we don't even know what happens with that.
Yeah.
It's a Kurosawa film.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently a lot of the same actors, he uses a lot of the same actors in his movies.
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys were from previous movies, which is a lot of directors do that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people, like Wes Anderson and Quentin Tarantino, or they like to stick with this what works, I guess. But yeah, Akira Kurosawa is pretty prolific. I guess he has a lot of pretty well-known films. Like when I went to...
I was going to say, he's only been nominated for one Oscar in his life.
Oh, really?
Didn't even win.
I just know when I went to... Because this year I'm renting all my films, all the movies, unless they're like on a thing I already pay for. But from our local video store, because we have one. And when I went to the video store, there was like a whole Kurosawa section, and they're all Criterion. Are you familiar with Criterion?
Sounds familiar.
It's like they put out DVDs and Blu-rays of like culturally significant films, I guess. Anyway, there was like a section of like 20 of his movies in the Kurosawa section, all put out by Criterion. So
you're renting all of your movies.
Mm-hmm. Unless they like happen to be on Netflix or something, which I already happen to be paying for. But yeah, I figure if we have a video store, I may as well support it. It's also
how much is this one?
$4.
Wow.
Yep. So I may as well rent the films from the local business or whatever, and it's close by my work. I don't know. I guess there's no real good reason to do it besides that.
Have you picked a movie for next week that you can rent?
I have not picked a film yet, actually.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay. What else? I mean, the acting was, pretty decent for the time period, I think.
Oh yeah. It was good.
The ending was fine. Based off of 2 separate short stories, which is interesting.
Didn't know that. I never really... you do a lot of you're the Wikipedia guy. You're the death guy and you're the Wikipedia guy. I never look up the Wikipedia.
The plot and the characters were based off of a 1922 short story, and the title and the framing of the film was based off of another 1915 short story. So one of them, the plot and the characters, that short story was called In a Grove, and the 1915 short story with the title and the framing is Rashomon. So this film came to me through the University of Victoria, the writing program. We had to watch this movie and read the short stories. This is back in like 2013, for a class. And at that time, I probably wasn't the best student, so I didn't really pay that much attention to it.
Yeah.
So watching this movie was pretty fresh. I did remember the rain.
Yeah.
The baby, though, I do not remember the baby.
Well,
Yeah, that baby was silly.
I wasn't crazy about that part. It felt like just like a plot device to make the ending more cheerful.
You're right.
I don't know. Like, it just feels like some films like feel the need to do that. So I don't know.
They could have just like stopped the rain. That would have made things more cheerful.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, well, do you want to get into scores?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's getting late.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I'll start.
Okay.
It's my movie. Acting. So yeah, the year is 1950. We don't watch a lot of movies from this time period, so I don't really have a lot to kind of base it off of. But I feel like the actors back then, they just seemed more genuine and believable. Like they were just playing themselves, just being themselves. And
Mhm.
it kind of came across that way. Versus you watch a movie from today, and they have a lot more acting. The acting is just different. I don't know.
I see what you mean.
I liked a lot of deranged laughter.
Mhm.
That was good. Sword fights. The sword fight scene we talked about a little bit wasn't that realistic, but I mean, I can't fault them for that. So I gave it an 8 out of 10
8 out of 10.
for acting.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I thought there was a lot of really good performances, like I said. No bad performances. Especially I thought the performances that weren't in the flashback scenes were better than when we were in the flashback scenes. But like the three guys in Rashomon, I guess that's the name of was that like a sort of rundown palace or something they're in? Or I'm not sure what that is. It cuts to like the sign twice or whatever. It says Rashomon, so I'm not sure.
Could be the city?
That could be it too. So I liked the scenes there, and also when they're being like interrogated. I thought those were the best scenes and the most interestingly shot. Like, yeah, especially that police interrogation scene when you have the two men like in the background, and then what was going on in the foreground, and just the really nice performances there. But also I guess maybe my problem with the flashback scenes is I found them a bit more annoying in terms of like the laughing got to me a little bit, and like the crying, and also, I mean, it was an uncomfortable scene overall. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm just taking the uncomfortability of the situation and like converting that into the acting performance. I don't know, but my score is actually the same as yours, an 8.
Interesting. Why don't you go first for ending? I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, for me, the ending was, like I said, it wasn't my favorite, just because it did feel like it, all of a sudden it had to make it a cheerful movie, and I just wasn't crazy that it went for that route. It just always seems like that has to be what films do. And yeah, I liked the bleakness of it, and I just wish it sort of ended on that. So the ending was a bit of a miss for me. So I have that as a 5.
What's one more, baby? I already have 6.
Yeah.
I didn't really get the ending. So like I don't know if I liked it or not. But yeah, they could have had the scene where the commoner guy, who was like, they were in the rain, and then he kind of like pushes him back and was like, "You stole the dagger, didn't you?" And then he admits, the woodcutter admits to stealing the dagger,
Mhm.
and then I don't know, the sun comes out, but I guess they kind of needed something else. I don't know. I'm not a screenwriter. Um, but yeah, baby shows up out of nowhere, which was silly.
Yeah.
So I also gave it a 5 out of 10.
I guess maybe the baby was supposed to be like, I don't know, represent the next generation or something, and maybe there is good in that. I don't know. Like you could probably search for some sort of meaning, but it doesn't mean I have to like it.
It certainly does not.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know who gave this score a higher one, so I'll just go first,
Okay.
and then you can choose if you want to go higher or lower.
Okay.
So Rashomon,
Mm-hmm.
one of the most influential films ever made. I think it's what I read, anyways. I don't know. So I'm happy this is our first movie of 2023. Very adulty. I enjoyed the structure of the film. Very interesting. It kept me alert. So you kind of have to be alert in these movies, because if you aren't paying attention, you don't know what they're saying unless you know Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
But it was enjoyable to be so alert because of how they structured the film.
Yeah.
It just kept you paying attention. I liked the acting, and I liked the story. I felt sad that it painted females in such a bad light.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we didn't really talk about it, but the one female, she, in every story, basically, she's raped
Yes.
and like tossed aside by all of the men. And there was that one scene where the husband is like, "I don't want her anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd rather have my horse," which I thought was interesting. But I thought, so I didn't know if the way they treated women was a sign of the times in 1950 or a sign of the times in the short stories,
Right.
the 1950 and the 1922. So they decided to go very close to the stories, or it's 1950, whatever. Women in that time, no respect.
Yeah.
So overall, it was a fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that one thing, and perhaps the deranged laughter, and maybe other stuff. I give it a 7.5 out of 10.
All right. Yeah, I see. It is a little uncomfortable, like, especially movies back then, seeing how women are treated. And yeah, you're right. It's hard to know because I'm sure there are plenty of like progressive directors and progressive films of that time that maybe portray women in a better light. But I say, as a general rule, yes, that does seem to be like how it goes. So that is always uncomfortable to see, but you can kind of like prepare yourself for it, I suppose, and just know, what you're seeing isn't right or whatever. But yeah, I did like the acting overall and all performances, and you're right when you said this movie like had me really pay a lot of attention, but like enjoying it and like genuinely curious what was going to happen next. And I think that was partly due to just how the film was structured. And I think the ending was a bit of a letdown. I think maybe affected me a bit more than maybe it did for you. And so overall, my score is a 7.
It affected you 0.5 more.
Yeah, but it was one of those movies that you could tell, like, it's, you said it's like an important film historically, and you can sort of like, you could feel that as you're watching it. But yeah, it had a few problems for me personally. That's why I'm at a 7.
Right. This is no Old Boy.
This is no Old Boy.
Rashomon is the highest rated film of the year so far.
It is, and the lowest as well.
Also lowest, which is sad. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was a movie.
It was.
That was a good start. What I think I'm gonna do for the first part of this year, anyways, is pick a movie from each decade. So started with 1950.
Mm-hmm.
So my next movie in 2 weeks will be from the 1960s,
Okay.
and so on and so forth. You don't have to follow that. It's just it'll stop me from picking all new movies
Okay.
or new old movies.
I have in the duration of this podcast picked the movie that we're watching next week.
I just asked you like 5 minutes ago.
Yep.
And you were like, I don't know.
Well, I've picked now. It's a movie I've always been meaning to watch, and now we will.
Do you know what is interesting about this podcast? This is episode 41. This is the 40th movie we've done.
Mm-hmm.
There hasn't been a single Willem Dafoe movie.
No, there hasn't.
0 movies.
And next week there won't be a Willem Dafoe movie.
Sad.
It is sad. A couple of weeks ago, I almost picked at Eternity's Gate, but then I changed my mind.
Right. Bend it like Beckham.
Bend it like Beckham. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any hints you want to give to our loyal listener?
Let me think. Let me think of a good hint, and I won't take too long thinking of it.
Which Wilson brother is in it?
There is no Wilson brother, but there is Jennifer Connelly. Jennifer Connelly is in it. That's my hint.
Ghost?
No, it's not Ghost.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna guess.
Yeah, that's your one guess.
That ruins it.
Your one guess.
I get one. My one guess is Ghost.
Yeah, it's gone.
Okay, that's fine. Top Gun? No.
Nope, it's not that either.
Oh, I think I know what it is. I've looked, and I've seen something that sounds like a Jesse movie.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like you're like, man, I've heard that this is a weird movie.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try that one.
Is that a movie you've seen?
I have not seen it, but I feel like we watched a movie on this podcast that was like compared to it. Like, oh, this is just as weird as Requiem for a Dream. Or maybe I'm just thinking of Eternals. I just said it out loud. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah, it's not Requiem for a Dream anyway.
Okay. Well, that's what I thought it was.
I have seen that movie.
Maybe that's why.
It's not so much a weird movie as it is just kind of like a messed up movie.
Is David Bowie in this one?
No, it's not Labyrinth. Stop guessing.
Then I'll stop guessing. She's married to Vision. Paul Bettany.
Is she?
Apparently.
Well, that's a fun fact. Did you look that up on Wikipedia again?
Well, it's just I've Googled Jennifer Connelly and her Wikipedia comes up. She's 52 years old. They married in 2003 and she has 3 children.
Right. And in 2002, Connelly won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for her portrayal of Alicia Nash in Ron Howard's biopic, A Beautiful Mind.
I haven't seen that movie either.
You haven't seen A Beautiful Mind?
Nope.
The first 3 quarters of it are good. The last quarter, not so much.
Over the holidays, I did watch about 15 minutes of the second Lord of the Rings. So basically, it was, what part was it? It was when one of the main characters throws somebody from like a cliff onto like a bunch of bad guys.
Uh-huh.
In the second one.
Uh-huh.
That was the only scene that I really remember.
Yeah, they throw Gimli on the
Yeah,
to the
I guess
orcs
so.
on the little bridge at the battle
Sure.
for Helm's Deep.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Why
But
did you
that's as
watch
much as I've seen.
15 minutes of that particular part of that particular film?
Well, it was the Thursday of the snow week,
Mm-hmm.
and I had just come home from it took me 4 hours to get home
Right.
because the buses, and it was on my television. So I just kind of sat there and watched it. I'm like, this, I can't do it. I have to watch it from the beginning or not at all.
Yeah. I watched a movie a few days ago that wasn't related to the podcast. I watched Legally Blonde for the first time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
That is a good movie. Yep. I enjoyed it.
If you're on a Jennifer Coolidge, very similar name to a Jennifer Connelly kick, White Lotus, season 1 and 2, highly recommend.
She's in that, is she?
Yeah, she's one of the main characters.
Okay. I mean, I don't watch TV, so I won't watch that. But although I will say I did watch Wednesday. Did you watch that?
I watched some of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The 2 weeks ago, the last time we recorded the podcast, we had watched, I think, episode 6, because there's 8 episodes of Wednesday, and then my girlfriend watched episodes 7 and 8 while we were doing the podcast.
Oh, that was nice of her.
Well, I wasn't really paying attention to it. It wasn't really my jam, you know.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
We're currently watching Ted Lasso.
Mm.
You don't watch TV, but if you want a feel good show,
I was about to
that
say.
show makes you feel some sort of way.
I was about to say that's supposed to be a very feel good show. That's what I've heard.
Very feel good, yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I've seen one episode of that actually, because I was at
We
my
had this-
parents and my dad was watching it.
Yeah. They would like that.
Mm-hmm. Well then,
Okay. Well, good. That was a fun return to podcasting.
it was. I'm excited for this movie we're going to be watching for next week.
It's not Requiem for a Dream.
It is not, and I've already looked on the Pick a Flick website, and they do indeed have this film in their catalog. I was going to pick another movie. I mean, I did so much deciding for movies while we were podcasting. You probably couldn't even tell. I'm so good at multitasking. But I looked up one film. They didn't have it. So I'm like, okay, I'm not picking that one. And then I got to the movie that I chose.
But did you look to see if it was on anything else, like a Netflix or anything?
No, I didn't. I don't think it is, because I've tried finding this movie before. I've never been able to find it.
Okay. Well, hopefully they have 2 copies of it.
Dude, they have it on Blu-ray and DVD. And I feel like this movie is no way that people are fiending to rent this thing. So at least one of those has to be available.
Wonderful. Can't wait to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
This weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that,
Yeah,
it's my birthday weekend.
it is.
Just remember that.
Yeah. You're turning 32.
I won't say that out loud.
Oh, you're turning. Well, just go bleep that out.
It's too late. I'll never remember. All right, Jesse. Well, next time we talk, I'll be much older.
Yeah.
And wiser.
Well, maybe.
I'm hopeful that you pick a as good of a movie, a good 7.25 movie, just like Rashomon was.
We shall see. Well, I hope you have a pleasant evening, you and all listeners, or morning, or whatever time you're listening to this. And also, I hope, if you're listening, that you feel better now.
We actually have twice as many American listeners as we do Canadian ones. So
we have 2 American listeners and 1 Canadian listener.
Yeah, just keep strong,
Yeah.
guys. It'll all get better.
Yeah, keep holding out.
Okay, well, good night and farewell.
Good night and farewell.